Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening, and thank you for attending GoPath Diagnostics' ongoing lecture series. My name is Brandon Cornell, and I am the web coordinator of this series. And today we are pleased to have Dr. John R. Minarsik. Before I formally introduce Dr. Minarsik, I would like to take a moment to talk about GoPath Diagnostics, and may I remind you that this webinar is being recorded for future use and will be posted on GoPathDX.com. GoPath was founded by pathologists as an educational portal, which has now grown to over 7,000 members and continues growing daily. We're your leader for pathology web lectures, hosting our monthly lecture series and an online global medical school pathology course given by Dr. John Minarsik. Please note that we would not be able to provide you with these offerings without the support of our sponsors, so we do ask that you take a few moments the next time you're on our site to acknowledge these sponsors by viewing their products and offerings. Our featured speaker again today is Dr. John Minarsik. Professor Minarsik is an American pathologist and creator of the world's first free, real-time, global online medical school pathology course. John is board certified, and he spent most of his life in private practice of pathology and nuclear medicine. He began teaching full-time pathology in 2003 at several American Caribbean medical schools, also building up a large number of free educational videos in histopathology, histology, and medical school pathology, which have now been viewed over 10 million times. For the past 4 years, he has taught an entire medical school level pathology course and histopathology lab free to over 3,000 medical registered students worldwide. During this lecture, John will explain his journey to becoming a world-renowned pathology educator and inform attendees how simple it is for anyone to do this with the right expertise and the desire to share their knowledge to the world. With that, I welcome our own Dr. John Minarsik. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Brandon. I guess you can hear me. I guess if you can hear me, everybody can hear me. So I just wanted to thank you for that embarrassing but awesome introduction, and I want to tell everybody the only part that was a lie is that I was world famous. You know, I'm just a regular pathologist. Well, I heard you laugh, so I guess I could click the button here and be a regular presenter now rather than an organizer. So I guess everything you see now is my green screen with my PowerPoint and a few little demos I'm going to make as well. I guess the first good place to start is the first PowerPoint out of 33, which I'll do today. And I guess the best title for this is What I Do, and part 2 will be how you could do it. And then we're going to have plenty of time for questions. I'm a professor of pathology at about 5 different Caribbean medical
Brandon?
Yes.
Brandon, somehow I cannot hear John Minarsik's voice.
Neither can I.
Can you talk to him? John, are you still there? Brandon, just say something.
That must be his microphone. all attendees, I'm very sorry for this confusion right now. I believe Dr. Minarsik has lost touch with his speakers. I'm going to give him a phone call and see if he can't plug back in.
Well, it looks like he's still there, and but he doesn't move his slides. That means he probably is aware.
Muted.
See, everybody can hear me again, so I'll start from the very beginning. Sorry for the 5-minute delay. I'm going to talk today about what I do in terms of giving global. Can everybody see? Can everybody see my PowerPoint? Can everybody see my PowerPoint?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Well, then let's start all over again. I don't think this is going to happen again. And I just wanted to say that Brandon's introduction was a 100% truthful, except for the lie about being renowned or famous. I do have professorships or visiting professorships at about a half a dozen Caribbean medical schools, and I profess online to 105 countries. And my favorite country is Iceland, because you may see this is why I love Iceland the most. It looks like all of these students that are at very high risk for melanomas. So basically what I'm going to talk about today is what I do and try to make it as simple as possible. And then I'm going to emphasize a lot on how you could do it very easily as well. I'm assuming everybody can hear me well now. So if Brandon wants to say something, or if somebody wants to type something into the question box, I will feel a lot more secure this time. And it looks like we're cooking. Okay, I'm just a regular old pathologist. For 30 years I did this. I looked at a microscope every morning, and I put yucky things into plastic buttons in the afternoon, and I ran around and I fought with administrators, and I had coffee with doctors and techs, and had a fairly happy life most of the time. I also have my boards in nuclear medicine, so everywhere I have been, I have done bone scans and nuclear therapies and stuff like that. And I also spent several years on something I love very much, and that's MRI. And I did that all kind of like in a schizophrenic method, half pathologist, half radiologist. And then I went to this place for about the last 13 years of my career. It was the only hospital in the HCA empire in which they could not bring in their own hired slaves. So we had a series of lawsuits, not just me, but my partner and the entire medical staff, and we won them all up to the level of the Supreme Courts. But then the rich $20 billion HCA Corporation decided to bring in the feds, and they audited all of our cases, and they found that I had 48 tardy placenta reports. So they threatened to put me in jail for 480 years, and that's when I left medicine. I wound up getting my license reinstated in Illinois, but by that time I was just having too much fun teaching. At first I taught at Rosalind Franklin. When I came back to Illinois from Florida, my wife got very, very ill at that time also, another reason for quitting a stressful practice. And then I've been to a bunch of Caribbean schools. I've been to the so-called Major Antilles over here. I've been to the leeward portions of the Lesser Antilles and also the windward portions. It's been a lot of fun, and everywhere I go there's a great beach. So this is the basic evolution of what I have done in the last 4 years now. 4 years ago, at first I taught in real boxes called medical schools, and then I decided to make a bunch of movies for YouTube in histology and pathology and histopathology. And then, I guess it's about 4 years ago now, what we did at one of the Caribbean medical schools called Destiny in St. Lucia is to teach their entire pathology course online. And because I have the capacity to show slides, like a 500-headed microscope, it was a big success. There was a relatively small number of students, so we used a free technology called DimDim, which was free. It's basically a screen sharing thing. I'm not going to go into the technology of it. We don't use it anymore, but it's still around. And then you could take as many as about 20 or 25 people on Skype calls as well. That went pretty well. And I want to show you, I want to prove to you that this is St. Lucia, because you could see both the, what they call the Gros Piton and the Petit Piton. Those are the two famous landmarks of St. Lucia. And yes, I was at that beach. And then the next year, I had a nice little meeting with Jim. We were sharing some, Dr. Lou, who is here today. I call him Jim. I'm sorry, Jim. And we decided to do this strictly now for the world. Do it from a beach town that is not always warm. It's called Lake Bluff. It's where I live. It's where I'm sitting right now, but there's snow outside now. So for 1 year, we did the global course with webinar technology, and I'm emphasizing webinar trademark, not webinar generic. Okay, we do the webinars from Citrix. I don't have much experience with the other parts, but webinar trademark from Citrix works the very, very best with us, so I don't need any more experimentation. And then the next year we did it again. Only this year, a large portion of the course we did at UMHS, which stands for University of Medicine and Health Sciences. And this is St. Kitts, and this is one of Dr. Ross's medical schools. And you can see another nice beach there. I was at that one, but that is not me. And it was great. The problem is that because of scheduling and some technical difficulties, I wasn't really happy with it. So we still have recorded a lot of sessions from there, and they're all on my website. But I wasn't happy because when you are an employee of a medical school, they tell you to do things that basically interfere with what you would just love to do online. So I had to switch the schedule and switch the courses, but we all got it on there, but I wasn't happy. This year, 2012, 2013, I am very happy. Both Jim, which you see here on the left, and Dr. Mac Warungi, who you see here in the middle, and myself, we got together on a yearly basis to review what we're going to do, and I don't want to make it sound like I do this all myself. I could not do it without Jim, and we could not do it without Mac's inspiration either. So this is a team effort. Now, what we did in Puerto Rico, and I just came back yesterday, is we did all of our regular scheduled online webinars, but it was a very smooth transition. The students that were online did not have to adjust too much except for the time change. There was a 3-hour difference. I did not have to adjust too much because it was the same topics and about the same time. It fit into their schedule nicely. And the students at the American Medical School, San Juan Bautista, did not have to adjust very much either because in their agenda it would happen to coincide exactly what we were talking about. So this has been sort of an evolution, and it has evolved from regular old classroom teaching. I promised Jim I would not use the word jail box, so I won't call classrooms jail boxes today. And then it kind of went onto YouTube, and YouTube has been very nice to me. At first they limited me to 10 minutes per movie or 50 megabytes, and now they, for some reason, give me unlimited VIP status to webinars. But what I think I would like to do for the rest of my life is something called a livenar. And this is what we did in Puerto Rico. It is a regular webinar, like I'm giving you right now, but it's also synced with a large classroom full of students. So as I am having my little wireless headset around my head, and I'm running up and down the aisles, and I'm talking to students, and I'm embarrassing them for questions, I'm also broadcasting to you as well. This is what I love the most. I called it Livenar at first, but I don't know what to call it. But basically, it was a very smashing success, a synced webinar with the students I have always called buzzards, and the students in the auditorium in Puerto Rico, which I called iguanas. So it was a successful synchronization or hybridization between the buzzard and the iguana. And of course in Puerto Rico they don't call them iguanas, they call them gallina de palo, but it's the same thing. So this is what we did. We had the buzzards, or classical buzzards, every day listening to me, and then we had the real live iguanas in the classroom. And my great fear is that it wouldn't work. Not only did it work with very minimal adjustments, but in my opinion, it was a huge smashing success. It was a symbiosis. These two animals are not just joined at the hip. They are not just living in peace and synchronized harmony, but what they are doing is having a symbiotic relationship. The buzzards benefited greatly from the iguanas because a lot of the buzzards were not from American medical schools. A lot of them were. But now they have attended the American medical school classrooms, and they know what it's like. Now, how did the iguanas benefit? Well, I'll tell you how they benefited. And, you know, maybe if there's some buzzards out there, you don't know this, but whenever I would, you know, walk up and down the aisles and squeeze the girls' toes, you know, and harass the students in general, I would ask them questions. And do you want to know how they got the answers to my questions? They looked up at the screen to see what all the buzzards were saying. So they learned from each other. We had a classroom of American students learning with each other from students all over the world. It was a success way beyond my wildest dreams. Okay, so here's what we did. You know, I use a PC. This is the one I have now. I was using a laptop. It could be a Mac or a you know, PC. This is the one I have right now, the one I had to kick to start because I was stressing it out right before the webinar, so that's probably why it froze up. Plus, it's an old one. You can use a Mac also. You can use an iPod or you can use an Android as well. But you should only use an iPad or an iPod or an iPhone just to be an attendee. You can also use it to be a host, but then you are limited in terms of the numbers that you have, and they no longer call them webinars, and they call them go-to-meetings. And you can't share your full screen. You just have to show websites. So this is what we did in El Yunque. So remember, you could attend a webinar from any type of computer imaginable. But to host a webinar, you should not use a tablet. Now, the one other thing you need is a microphone. Now, if you have a tablet or if you have a laptop, it might be built in. But in a lot of the computers, you know, they may have gotten a microphone with it, but they don't really use it too much. So go out to Radio Shack, buy a, you know, $4 microphone. I used to say $4 microphone, but I actually lost or broke my microphone in Puerto Rico, and I went to the Radio Shack, and I paid like $29 for a microphone. I was really mad. Anyway, why is this in pink? The reason why it's in pink is because everybody knows when you have a regular microphone, all you have to do is plug it into the pink circle on the back of your PC. It's the universal color for a microphone, just like green is the universal color for speakers or headset. What else do you need? Well, you need what we call a broadband connection. Okay, that means fast internet. That means anything beyond telephone connection. I have a DSL here that I've been using for forever at my house for years and years. It only has about 5 Mbps on the download and about half on the upload. But I have a really good, solid, stable DSL connection, and it works really, really, really good. It's never failed me. In fact, the screw-up that we had earlier today was not due to the internet. It was due to a RAM problem in my computer. Cable generally is faster. Cable is nice. DSL is nice. What about Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi may be nice, but if you're in a public place like, you know, McDonald's or, you know, Starbucks, or like when I was in the airplane yesterday, they even had Wi-Fi on the airplane. Well, the problem is you only get about 1 Mbps when you're at Mickey D's or when you're in an airplane, maybe 1.5. So it might not be good enough. My estimate is that whatever you want to broadcast from, go to speedtest.net, and if you're getting at least 3 on the download and at least 1/2 on the upload, you're going to be fine. Now, that's not the most important thing. The speed is not the most important thing. The stability is the most important thing. So I'd rather have a relatively slow DSL compared to cable, but it should be incredibly stable. And I'm going to tell you, in 4 years, even though we've had some technical problems, in 4 years, my regular old AT&T DSL has never crashed on me in the middle of a webinar. And that's after about 300 webinars. You know, like, I am really, really happy with it. Now, go out and get a webinar account. It's free. For a while, everything is free on the internet. Now, there's a lot of different payment plans. I don't know if Jim would agree with this. He can speak up if he wants, but when I looked at how much Jim is paying every month, you know, for his webinar services, it boils down to about $1 per attendee per month. So if I have 100 people on webinars for a month, GoPath pays about $100 for that level. If you bump it up to 500, which we've had to do a couple of times, the price goes up a lot. But let's figure $1 per attendee per month. And the thing I have to show you right now, I mean, there's no way I can tell you right now how to do a webinar and make you happy, okay? You're just going to have to experiment a little bit. They have courses on it when they give you the webinar. But I want to caution you about something now. I'm going to show you a slide coming up. And I don't want you to freak out at the next slide. I want you to have an open mind. It's going to be one of those crazy things, and you're going to go, ah, as soon as you see it. Okay. Everyone that's on this webinar can only do 2 things. As an attendee, you could only type into the chat box, and you can only raise your hand. Those are the only 2 things you could do. Now, the organizer, I am an organizer now, and Brandon is an organizer, and Jim is an organizer. We could do about 1 million different things. We are like God. But the really only 5 things that we really do is, number 1, press the start button. When you press the start button, the webinar starts. If you want to show your screen, even before or after you start the webinar, you press this big Show My Screen button. Now, if you want to record the webinar, which I know Brandon is doing right now, you just press Start Recording, you know, and you'll record it. If you want to see how many people are your attendees, like this was my test one, there's 1, but I see there's, I don't know how many are here now, but there's a lot. Then you could see who they are, and you can also see if they have their hand raised. And if you click the attendee list and some of them have their hand raised, then you unmute them and they could speak to you. And I hope some of you speak to me today, because it's not going to be a long webinar. Finally, whenever you type in a question, it appears in this question box here. Now, I have the question box right in front of me now, but you can't see it. Only the organizer can see everything. The attendees cannot see. So I want to remember to tell you, don't freak out when you see that, you know, Pentagon control panel in front of you. Just remember, you're only going to probably press 5 of these buttons. And all the organizers I know, they probably never press more than one of these 5 buttons. I just wanted to show you how easy it is for you. But I also want to tell you that unless you actually do one or try one or press a few wrong buttons, there's nothing I could tell you right now that is going to make you feel confident that you could give a webinar. So, the organizer is God. He could do everything. There's 4 levels of hierarchy. Some of the people here are presenters, or they could be. An organizer can make me a presenter, like Brandon made me the presenter today. So I could speak and I could show my screen if he lets me show my screen. But remember, the organizer is El Jefe. You know, he's numero uno. And then you could be a panelist, and panelists have a little bit of a higher hierarchy than the attendees, because the attendees have to, can only speak if they're given permission, if somebody unmutes them, and generally the panelists can speak freely. Of course, if the organizer wants to shut up the panelist, like we had to shut up a panelist today because he had a lot of background noise. So we told him that we were going to have to shut him down. So the easiest thing of all is to be a buzzard, is to be an attendee, because all you got to do is write something into the question box, like somebody just wrote hierarchy, somebody just wrote haha yes. I'm seeing all of these messages that you get as you get them, and sometimes they're funny. And the students in Puerto Rico saw all your comments as well. We don't show your names. We only show your comments, because I don't want you to feel like you are, if you ask us or answer a question wrong, I don't want your name to be on there. I'm sorry. So we only see maybe like the first 2 letters of your name. We don't see your name. So you're free to say whatever you want, but I am not free to answer them while I am concentrating on the webinar. Now, up till now, you're probably saying, is this a pathology conference? When is it going to talk about pathology? Well, I'm going to talk about pathology right now, because if online teaching was the only thing this was about, most pathologists here would be really, really disappointed. What I want to do right now is give you the biggest tip in the entire world. Now, when you go to your pathology meetings, you have a whole bunch of people with suits, and they are dressed very well, and they tell you about digital pathology and remote microscopy. And I've talked to all these people, and they mislead you. They make you think that you could look through your microscope and show somebody in China. Well, you can, but it's limited to usually 2 or 3 people. I've done that. I've made that mistake. What I do here, and I'm going to show you a demo right now. I'm going to show you that I'm going to look through my microscope right now, and everybody here, some people are buzzards, I could see your name, some people are pathologists. This is the only way in the world there is to look through your microscope and show it to 500 people all over the world at the same time, instantly. Okay? I know a lot of you here don't think it's possible, but I've been doing it for 4 years. Okay? That's why this talk is for pathologists. And here's how we do it. Most of the virtual microscopy that you see is on online viewers. Okay, you go to a website and you click on something and it zooms up and you go, oh wow, I'm looking at a slide on my computer. But you're looking at it online. And when you look at it online, it consumes bandwidth. So you have to look at the zoomable microscopic slides offline. I cannot emphasize that more. That's why I put it about 20 times over here. So you must look at slides offline, because if you looked at them online, it would kill your webinar. It consumes, it interferes, it competes with the bandwidth of the webinar. If you look at them offline, and I'm going to do that right now, then you know that everybody is seeing you. And I know you're all over the world right now, and I'm going to click on my little box of slides right here. And I can tell you from experience of many, many webinars. Oh, I hope I can click on this. Yes, I can. These are my slides. These are my 500 offline FPX image files. They're not JPEGs, they're not GIFs, they're not TIFFs, they're not PNGs, they are FPX. It was a standard that was established by Kodak about 10 or 20 years ago. They abandoned it, but it is the only way I know for you to get, as you can see here, I'm sliding down 500 slides and show anything you want. So let's say we want to look at, I'll tell you what, why doesn't somebody in my audience give me 2 random numbers between 1 and 6? Go on, just give me, okay, a 4, and what else? And a 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Let's look at this slide here. Now this is not an image. This is a slide. This is a glass slide. This is a pathology slide. Okay? Now, I'm going to do a little experiment, and we've done this with our students many times. Like right now, I'm looking at this slide under my microscope, and I'm going to do a little experiment with you. And for those of you that have your finger on the question box, I need for you to make an instant response, because I'm going to blow up this little cyst over here, like a microscope can do. I'm going to put my little box around it, and you can see I'm making a little box around the edge of the cyst. And I am going to ask you to tell me exactly when you see it, okay? As soon as you see the blow up, you just put your finger on that button and say yes. Well, guess what, folks? I got a whole stream of responses in less than 2 seconds after I found it myself. So it's not instantaneous. For some people, it is instantaneous. For some people, it's never taken any student or attendee or fellow pathologist. Now, what are the implications? The implications is that if you buy a digital scanner and you are able to view these images offline, then basically you could just get a webinar, you know, with 500 pathologists and ask them for their opinion, to look at it with you, okay? And you could be talking to them and they could be talking back at the same time. They should not be talking back, they should be chatting back, because audio or voice, believe it or not, it consumes more bandwidth than video does. Now I want to show you another little thing. This is really pretty good quality. You could see nucleoli, you could see nice chromatin patterns. You know, this is high quality microscopy. Well, it looks like there's like a little bugger inside that little group of cells. What I'm going to do is I'm going to blow up this one cell only, you know, and you're going to find out what the pixelization artifact is. If you go crazy and you think, oh my God, I could blow this up and see parts of nucleoli, well, that's the problem. This is now overblown up. This is what they call pixelized. So you can only blow it up until you start to see these little blockiness, and then you shouldn't blow it up anymore. Well, that's the end of the demonstration, and I could show you all 500 of these slides. And during the course of my year course, I do show most of them, and I talk about them, and I've made movies about them, and they're on YouTube, and it's been a real joy. Now, I know that you have been very much paying close attention now, so I have selected for you 4 more slides, and as you can see them here on the side. I don't believe in hiding information from my students. Everything that I see, even the next PowerPoint, even my lecture notes, I'll say hello. That should be seen by your attendees also. Education is not a guessing game. If you show things full screen and it hides your lecture notes or your cue cards, don't do that. The students or your attendees should have access to that as well. So I'm going to show you 6 slides now, and I'm going to let you read for yourself each one for about 10 seconds. And if you want to chuckle, like by doing a LOL in your chat box, I would appreciate that very much. Here's the first one. These are David Letterman's 102 Reasons. Oh, I shouldn't use the word jailbox. I'm sorry, Jim. I'll just say schools, or we'll say offline schools. How's that? As soon as I see my first LOL, I'm going to move on to the next one. I could do all of these things. You know what? I haven't even shaved today, okay? I haven't taken a shower. I rolled out of bed and I sat down, and you know, that saves me a lot of energy. I didn't have to get dressed, and guess what? Neither did you. Here's the next 20 reasons. You know, I have a cup of coffee here. I got my dog sitting next to me. You could have your dog sitting next to you. You could be in bed with your girlfriend or your wife, okay? You don't have to go to those labs and smell formalin. These are all really, really good reasons, you know. Here's another thing. I just saw LOL, so I'm going to show you the next 20. You don't have to drive. You know, you don't have to waste gas. You don't have to get a ticket from the campus police. You could also be playing Angry Birds in the background. You could tell me that I'm full of baloney, and I won't even hear it. You could be screaming at me now how stupid I am as a professor, and my feelings won't be hurt because I can't hear you. You could also do this during a party. You don't have to worry about your microscope blowing, you know, because I'm showing you the slides. You don't have to worry about two different lab instructors or two different opinions. You're getting one opinion from a pathologist. So, of course, my opinion is the correct opinion. That in itself should deserve LOL. Here is the next 20 or so reasons. I find that I can't really learn at a conference unless I could check my email at the same time. It's like when you were a kid and your mother would scream at you, turn off that damn television while you do your homework. Well, maybe some people can, you know, do their homework better if their TV or radio is on. Okay? So, I could be reading my lecture right now, and you would never know it. You would think I was speaking spontaneously. Okay? You're not distracting me, and I'm not distracting you. Here's the next one. Towards the end here, I'm not going to play it, but I don't know if any of you know about Pink Floyd. They're a great classic rock group. They had a song called Another Brick in the Wall, and in the video, the students are smashing down the walls of the school at the end, and they're throwing bricks through the windows and everything. And that's exactly how I feel about, I promise not to use the word jailbox. That's exactly how I feel about medical schools that have walls. Okay, so let's summarize our experience in Puerto Rico now. It was a smashing success. The buzzards, the online people, had the advantage of going to an American medical school. And some of you want to practice in America, okay? Now, the iguanas, you know, and they thought they were really smart. Well, when I asked them a question, I would notice they were looking up at the screen. Now, this is the main thing I want to tell you, okay? Forget everything else I said. This is the main thing I want to tell my audience right now. When I went to Puerto Rico, I noticed that my student numbers, I started out with 100% of the students, but within a couple of weeks, it was down to 50%. And I go, oh my God, I don't require attendance, but do they hate me? Do they think I suck? And what I found out is that the iguanas were morphing into buzzards. In other words, I have one student named Carolina Bravo, and she is a really good medical student, and she homeschools her children. Well, while she was homeschooling her children, I was homeschooling her in pathology, in both lab and lectures. So the iguanas became buzzards, and the buzzards became iguanas. The title of this talk should be The Successful Hybridization Between Buzzards and Iguanas. Okay, so you know, for some of you are my students, but some of you don't know what my classes were like. I got to talk for 2 hours. That's hard to do, but it's the only time of the week or twice a week that they let me talk without telling me to shut up. So at the beginning of our session, before the class starts, we play hard rock, and I make sure I have a cup of coffee here, and I say a prayer that everything's going to go okay. I get on my knees, and I also, if it's a really hard rock song, then I start dancing to myself, and I can't do this in a classroom because they would think I was nuts. They would have security kick me out of school. But I do this up here in my studio. And then I give about an hour of lectures and labs, and I show slides. And then for a 10-minute break, we have more music, usually 3 songs. It might be rock and roll, it might be hip-hop, it might be country, it might be classical. But mostly what I've concentrated on are songs that were submitted by students. Then I do the next hour after the break, and usually we do not go over 2 hours because I could see my students are working hard or paying good attention. Sometimes I look at the chat or the voice at the end if we have time, and we talk a little bit. And then in the very last song is the end, is something inspirational, slow, and beautiful. And that's how we end our webinars. Now, another thing I do is I teach pathology. Okay, so I read Robbins, 7th edition very, very well. Plus, I am a pathologist, so I know a little bit of that already, but there's a lot of new stuff in there. And, here is our hero. This is our God. This is Dr. Vinay Kumar. This is the person that inspires us, okay? This is the man who delivers our graduation ceremonies online. So one time the Elsevier company said to him, there's this guy that's showing our pictures online. Should we sue him for copyright infringement or stealing our intellectual property? And Dr. Kumar says to them, are you kidding? He's selling more of your textbooks than any of your damn salesmen. You should give him an award. So Dr. Kumar is our friend. Another person that we plagiarize from is the University of Iowa. And this is their page on virtual histopathology. So if you click on any one of these things on their web page, you will then find out that it will show you the same general slides that I showed you offline. But now you could look at them online. And part of my course is for the students to look at all these cases and answer the questions for each case. It's what I call Rock Lab. And then if they do all of their cases, then I give them a high grade, and I also probably give them a very, very good reference when they apply for residencies. Okay, so here we are. What more do we need to make this course better? Well, there's only one thing I could think of. We had a pathologist at the beginning of the year that would actually be an attendee, and I'm looking for a volunteer. I'm looking for a pathologist. I hope one of you might volunteer that has the time to go to the live webinar sessions, because all of the questions that I see the students are typing in right now, I can't answer them personally without breaking my chain of thought. So we had a pathologist that was actually very good, and he answered all their questions, because when the students ask a question, they don't want the answer 6 months from now. They want it instantly. An answer delayed is an answer denied. It's just like justice in the United States. Justice delayed is justice denied. All the lawyers will tell you that. Another thing that we would like, but we know we're going to never get it, is approval from LCME to make this a legitimate course to allow them to take their USMLE exam as part of a medical school curriculum. I've called them and I've said, hey, could you approve my course? And I had some paper pushing. Well, I'm very much trying not to use the word asshole, okay, because this is a professional conference. But I had somebody tell me that they only certify schools. So I said, yeah, but my course, a lot of students tell me my course is better than a lot of their schools. I says, are you subsidizing inferior education? And then he hung up and he would never talk to me again. But the axis of evil is this. A branch of the AMA called the LCME empowers medical schools, they inspect them, to then allow the students to take the USMLE exam, and if they do, they can then get licenses and be real American doctors. This is the axis of evil, because the students have to pay between $30,000 and $60,000 a year to do that. And when they go to my course, they don't have to pay anything. So you could say that this is a real axis of evil, and it's a money-driven Ponzi scheme, and the victims of it are medical students all over the world. And they won't certify me because I am not part of their money-making, greedy, money-sucking organization. The last thing I wanted to say about the Puerto Rico experiment is that we took a bunch of our students to America's greatest natural resource. It's called the El Yunque Rainforest. It's the only jungle in the United States. And we went in there like a SWAT team, and we set up a camp, a base camp, and we found a place where Mario here, who is the hero of our class because he was our coordinator for not only social activities, but he was my technical coordinator. I couldn't have done it without him. And we delivered a medical school class all over the world with only an iPad 3 and a 4G connection. It was the most spectacular day of my life. And by the way, I also met Daddy Yankee, one of the biggest rock stars in Puerto Rico that day, and I consider this to be much more important. So when we were up there and we were broadcasting, we proudly proclaimed that medical education cannot be jailed by walls. Okay, Jim, now you know I didn't use the word jail box. Okay, so here's how you could do it. We all know that every one of you out there is a world expert at something. Maybe it's only Hodgkin's disease. You know, maybe you've seen, you know, maybe you are know more about glomus tumors than anybody else in the world. Well, get your slides digitized, have a webinar, and if you are the number 10 smartest dermatopathologist in the world, if you make yourself worldwide visible, everybody will think you're number one. Okay? It's easy, it's free, and it's massively convenient for you to do. The only difference between Professor Woofy here talking to the classroom and talking to the world is the fact that he has a wireless headset around him. So when I was in my classroom, if I did not have the wireless headset, I would be giving a jailbox lecture. Once I had these on my ears and the computer and the webinar was set up, I was not only broadcasting to the auditorium students, but to all of the buzzards around the world that wanted to learn pathology. And by the way, the medical school, San Juan Bautista, they were very, very much embracing the concept of sharing knowledge freely, okay? So that's all that you have to do. I heard that there was a comet or a meteor that hit Russia yesterday, and I was thinking, if that meteorite hit Russia, but it didn't make a sound, would anybody know it? And of course the answer is yes. And I'll give you the same piece of advice. If you are the world's #1 expert on glomus tumors and you're talking to 3 people over at your tumor board, well, it's not going to make a sound. But if you broadcast it simultaneously and you record it, then you are going to be having a major impact. And why? I'll tell you why. Let's see, did I lose that slide? Yeah. The reason why you should do it is it's part of your Hippocratic oath. Here, do you remember when you were in medical school and you put on that nice stylish white coat? You remember you did a little oath? This is the guy that you gave your oath to. He's the father of medicine. You might have remembered how nice that little white coat was, but do you remember what you actually said when you were putting it on? This is what you said. I will respect the hard-won scientific gains of those physicians in whose steps I walk, and gladly and freely share such knowledge as is mine with those who are to follow. This is the real reason why you should do it. You want to know another reason why you should do it? Because it's right and it's good. And the next thing you're thinking is, how do I get an audience? Well, in my case, it was easy because I already had like about 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I just announced to them I was going to start giving classes, and I got a whole bunch right away. We got over like 4,000 registered people now over the last few years, and as of today, it's amazing. Brandon Cornell said that I had over 10 million views. Well, if I gave this webinar yesterday, that would have been a lie, but I just noticed on my YouTube button today that we just clicked over 10 million, so I'm really, really happy today. How do you get the audience? This is a cornfield, and in the middle of the cornfield, there's a baseball stadium, and a crazy man that was hearing voices from the sky that said, "Build it, and they will come." This is Kevin Costner's movie Field of Dreams. It was one of the most inspirational movies I've ever seen. Now, nowadays, when you build something, you know, the marketing people, the pimps, the PR men, the spin doctors, they all want more money to make you, an average guy, look great. It's called deception. It's the basis of American business and marketing. But my hypothesis is, if you really are the world's expert on glomus tumors and you want to talk about it, people are going to know, and you're going to build that a baseball field, and they will come. So get your PC or Mac, get your microphone, get your DSL cable or fast Wi-Fi connection. Instead of cable, I should have said stable. That's the most important thing. Get your free webinar account. Don't freak out when I show you this organizer panel. You've already learned how to use 2 buttons for webinars. All you got to do is learn 3 more. And then the last slide is something that I am not going to go into all the details on. I might give you a brief review, but you know, if you are showing high quality histology, you might not want to use the native recording button. You might want to use a high quality, or what they call high memory, high quality recorder, third party. It's called Camtasia Recorder. I'm going to click on my Camtasia Recorder right now, and you're going to see something pop up on the screen, and you're going to see that this records everything on the screen, both my voice as well as the audio. If we play high quality music, you're going to hear it very, very well. If you want to then compress those huge 3 gigabyte 2-hour files, 90%, you're still going to maintain almost all of your quality. You could then put them online, you could put them on your website, you could upload them to YouTube, and hope that they don't limit you to, you know, 50 megs or 10 minutes. They don't limit me, but I don't know if they would limit another person. If you want them to stream, if you watch the movies on YouTube, they're not really good quality. Some people might like them, but you're a pathologist. You want good quality. So there's another compression method called Camtasia Studio, in which you compress them to what they call flash, and you could then see them streaming. So your fans don't have to wait for the download of the high-quality movie. They could see them streaming. You could then, you know, email me if you still want more specific details. I can't go into all of them today because they seem to change almost yearly. And remember, a lot of professors, when they see not many students in their classroom, they get a little depressed. They think, am I losing my touch? Well, for every student that's in your class, there's going to be 10 that will eventually watch the movie. So when you go home and your wife said, well, how many people were at tumor board? Well, you know, I worked for 3 hours to do the big presentation. Only 5 people showed up. Well, if you do a webinar and then you make movies and you give them access, that that could be 50, that could be 100, that could be 500 people. Share your knowledge. That is real medicine. That is Hippocratic medicine. And when you're showing your slides, remember, offline, 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 offline. I'm going to play, just one little song for about 10 seconds to show you that if you want to play music or have background music while you're doing this, you're going to have very, very high quality music. You're not going to have the tinny stuff. I'm back in Chicago. You can hear, I hope, very high quality music. Okay, I'm done. I guess I could look at your question box here now. I don't think Brandon has to help me with this, but I'll just pop down my PowerPoint. I'm looking at the watch. We've done an hour. Of course, 5 of that minutes was a mistake. So I'm going to look at all your questions now, and I'm going to answer them, every single one. Okay. Brandon, you're on the air. Brandon, do you want to say something?
Oh, hello. Hey. Would you like to go ahead and take questions, or do you want me to go ahead and filter questions if there are any?
Why don't you filter them for me, because
okay.
I want to relax today.
Very good. Well, I see one question here to begin from Mr. Otebek El Muradov. Is there a possibility in the close future we could use electronic microscopy too?
Probably not much more than what I'm doing already. I think I know what he's talking about. He's talking about what you see at the CAP conventions are microscopy that's done and it's shared real time. I think the only way you could do it now, to the best of my knowledge, is to have the person under the microscope look at it real time and then transmit it on a webinar. I don't think, in my opinion, I don't see that happening in the near future, and that was his question.
Okay, now let's see if there are any others. Everyone ask away.
Brandon, don't forget you can also look at the attendee list and see if anybody has their hand raised as well.
I do. I see a hand raised. Dr. Amit Raut.
Okay.
Amita Raut.
Let's unmute her and see if she wants to ask it herself. Hello, Dr. Raut. Up. She put her hand back down. It was probably an accident. That happens a lot.
Sure.
But Robert Ogilvy has a question, too. Do you see him down on the list further?
I do. Dr. Ogilvy.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Ogilvy.
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Awesome. But you seem like you're sitting right next to me in Lake Bluff, Illinois.
Well, I have a very fine setup. I have a large desktop. I have two 24-inch monitors.
Wow.
I created a fully online histology course for the University of South Carolina. I'm in my 6th semester. I have all my lectures online. I have 2 virtual microscope online programs. The students do all their microscopy to learn histology online. I manage the entire course from my home. I put 550 students through the course.
That is awesome. That is
awesome. I have 203 students online right now.
Wow.
I'm a retired medical professor of 40 years in 3 medical schools, and they hired me to create a fully online course for upper level college students at the University of South Carolina.
That's awesome, Dr. Ogilvy. That's great. You're
Now,
my hero.
I see you've branched out of the institutional confines. I'm still there. I'm not sure I want to do what you've done. I admire your enthusiasm, your lifetime accumulation of knowledge. That's pretty much where I am, because I spent 40 years teaching medical students, and I repurposed all my lectures. I used PowerPoint and typed everything I wanted to say in the notes section of PowerPoint, and then I used Adobe Presenter, a plugin for PowerPoint, to create narrated lectures with interactive questions at the end. I'm actually thinking of somehow giving my histology students some organized access to your shotgun histology, and I wonder if you would be willing to send me the best link, if it's okay with you, to allow them, because I know Fred D. personally. In fact, I was the person who gave him the idea to get the National Library of Medicine grant.
Wow.
Back in 96 or 98, which led to him creating the first collection of virtual slides on the web.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see that you've used a lot of Fred D's slides and
Yes.
FPX. I have the SBS, et cetera, et cetera. So would you, what link would I go to?
I'll tell you what. Well, you know, all of my shotgun histologies on YouTube. However, if you go to my regular website, which is called medicalschoolpathology.com,
Yes.
I have the high resolution pictures which you could download, and I think that if you downloaded all of them, it would only be like about 3 gigs or so. So it's a reasonably small amount. Plus, I have the original AVI movies, which would be 10 times as much. Plus, if you would like the FPX files, and you send me a 64 gigabyte flash drive, I'll dump them on there and give them back to you.
Well, I appreciate that very much, but I wouldn't need that because Fred D. and I are colleagues for a long time, and he provided all of the original files for me for pathology as well as histology, and I have them here on terabyte drives.
Oh, that's awesome. Save them. They're so valuable, you know.
Well, I know. They really are. In fact, I'm working with a company called MBF Bioscience, which used to be microbrightfield.com.
Uh-huh.
And they created a viewer and a repository for neural slides called Neuroformatica, an educational module, and that's what I use. I'd be glad to send you or if you just simply go to vscope.psc.sc.edu, you can see without a password and browse the collection that I have there that's coming from a server at the University of South Carolina, and those are all Fred D. slides,
Right.
as well as many more that I scan myself at different institutions.
So what is your preferred method for doing virtual microscopy online?
Well,
Your students?
I spent 2 sabbaticals in Switzerland. My last one was 99-2000. I worked with Peter Grosskirch, who was the head of the Institute of Anatomy there, and he created an offline virtual microscope program, and I went on sabbatical because they used all fancy stains but no H&E, and I told him that you've got to put H&E in here because that's the routine stain that we all use in the United States for sure. And so I spent a whole year, and we finally made that into a program that's called WebMic. And now that's what I use for the students that learn the ABCs of histology. and I'd be glad to send you a link to that. We have actually 4 venues in the world, one at the Medical University of South Carolina server, one at USC, one in the Netherlands, and I think one in Basel.
That's
and the
awesome.
person who actually created this original one was Hans-Peter Rohr, who is a pathologist in Basel, who is now working in a medical school in Laos.
That's great, Dr. Ogilvy. I would really appreciate that link. You know my email and you know my website, and I'll eagerly eat all that stuff up. It might even be better than what I'm doing now, but I'm very, very happy with the FPX files.
Oh yes, well that's fine, but the WebMite, or if you I think you can understand, these are collection of photographic snapshots that are nested images that are organized with Java Applet program for the web, so that you click on different magnifications, and that's what we use for the students, because it has 2 self-assessment tools within it that you will see when I give you access to it, and they learn the ABCs of histology with that. And we test them with still images, but we also test them with virtual slides. And then I go to my virtual slide site and I link a virtual slide with a question to my Blackboard management quiz, and we don't allow them to study those slides. We give them a few examples and give them tours, but it's like learning with one tool and then translating that to an unknown. And so it works pretty well, and we always give them at least 2, we give them 2 chances to score on any quiz or exam, and that in itself is a learning process.
Great, great. Thank you very, very much for your comments.
And where are you located right now? Where is your home?
Well, my home is in Lake Bluff, Illinois. It's a suburb of Chicago.
Oh, I see.
But I just came back from 4 months in Puerto Rico, and usually in the cold weather, I try to go to medical schools that are a little warmer than Chicago during the winter, and teach there.
Yes.
And this was the first year that it was really, really successful for both a auditorium session as well as, you know, my continued online course as well.
I see. Well, I enjoyed the conversation, and I will send you a link to these structures. I think I'm actually 77 years old this summer, and I still have a lot of energy, and I probably will be managing and directing this online histology course. Most of the students are pre-meds and pre-dents, and as you probably know, in medical education, most of the disciplinary courses are disappearing, and it's integrated systems curriculum.
Correct.
And histology as well as pathology is becoming less and less possible to really give the students a foundation in that discipline, because it's so fragmented and spread out. So I have predicted a number of years ago that courses like mine online in the college level will be actually what students will be taking, so they'll be better prepared in medical school.
Thank you very much for your comments. Very, very much.
Take care.
Thank you,
Hi,
Dr. Ogilvy.
hi, Dr. Ogilvy.
Yes,
Hello?
Jim,
Yeah, I'm trying to
Jim
say
wants
something.
to talk to Dr. Ogilvy also.
Yeah. Hi, Dr. Ogilvy.
Yes?
Hi, this is Jim Liu.
Oh, yes, Jim.
Yeah, and thanks for your comment, and that's great. And maybe would suggest that you and Dr. Manasik maybe you know, work something together. Maybe have a joint session or something. You know.
Well, that could be possible.
You know.
I'd
Yeah.
love to. I'd love to. You
Yeah,
are a
so-
superstar, and I would love to be associated with you.
Okay.
All right.
All
Thank you
right.
so
Well,
much. Yeah.
we'll just take it step at a time, see how
Yeah.
it develops.
Yeah. Yeah, we have your emails, so we'll communicate through the emails, you know,
Okay.
and you know, see if we can work something together.
All right. Thank you.
All right. John, Matt is online right now.
Okay, good. I hope we can have Mac say something as well. If he has his microphone. He probably does. I'm looking for him on the list.
Well, I just put him as a panelist already.
Okay, well, let's talk to him. Let's embarrass him and make him say something.
Good morning, everybody. This is Mark. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we hear you very well.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited about what's going on, and I'm much more excited because of the power that this online pathology course has to reach as many people as possible. And I know there are millions of people who have been excluded from the sources of knowledge, particularly high quality knowledge as this, and this just gives us the opportunity to do so. We still have serious challenges in certain communities, particularly in developing countries where people do not have internet, and I consider it my work to, my contribution to work as much as possible to see people getting connected to the internet in remote countries, even in Africa. So I just returned from Nigeria, where we are developing a medical city, or building a hospital over there. And there are certain places in Nigeria where the internet connectivity is very good, in the big cities like Lagos and Abuja. But in the remote areas, internet is not, they still have internet, they have wireless, and most of it comes through the satellite, because they don't have the broadband cable network yet. But I think that very soon, maybe in another year or so, if we continue working hard, we'll be able to lay cable in those areas where they don't have it. Now, that is critical to helping people, particularly medical students, very, very sharp medical students in those medical schools in African countries, in remote locations, but they still do not have access. Now, the fact that we're able to record this and post it to YouTube, and I'm very happy that YouTube has given you, John, a lot of storage space, that we can upload all these movies on YouTube. Students who are not able to access live lectures would be able, and those students who live in the very remote location where the internet connectivity is very slow, they're able to download the movies very slowly into their laptops or their computers, and then watch them slowly. So that is all I want to say. This is very good, and I think that the transformational is going to change how medicine is going to be taught in the world today. And then the work of connectivity, you leave that to me. I'm working very hard to raise money and to make a lot of noise to see that even country governments get involved in helping people get connected. That said, we're planning a conference in Washington, D.C. In May of this year, specifically to talk about how to finance connectivity for globalization of health and for medical education, so that we can bring these kind of resources to people living in the most remote areas. And specifically, I want us to change the attention of what we have been doing about global health, that is, just distributing mosquito nets and malaria tablets, to shift the focus from there, from those activities that did not help a lot, and then we shift the money and the funding towards increasing connectivity and access to education to people living in remote locations. And I would like to encourage all the professionals here now who are participating in this conference to rise up and speak to whoever is going to hear, and know that there's so much need for medical services all over the world, and there's so many people who don't have access to care at all, and the only reason they don't have access to care is because the knowledge of medicine is not distributed to the majority of the people living in this world. And we have the technology to do it. So if we all work together, we're going to make it work. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you very much, Mac. For those of you who are here, I want to tell you Mac has been one of the founding fathers and inspiration behind this entire course. And although he goes out to places like Nigeria and builds, $1.2 billion medical complexes, he is also bringing the mountain back to Mohammed too, because he gives an international course in management, medical management. Thank you very much, Mac. You're our hero too.
Thank you.
Well, Dr. Minarsik, I'm trying to see if there are any other questions here in the question box. There are tons of great comments for you, but not many questions. More of a comment. The short length of Dr. Minarsik's YouTube videos is an advantage for my students in anatomy. They will not even open really long videos. From Margaret Reese.
Okay, I know who she is.
We have lots of praise to you. We have posted the vScope site for everyone to look at those histology sites that
Brandon, I wanted to respond a little bit to Mrs. Reese's comment. I've had several students tell me that they do not allow YouTube in their school because they think the students will just be watching videos all day. And I know for a fact that for those of you out there that may still be medical students, that probably some of the very, very best medical education you have chosen to receive is from YouTube rather than from your jail box. I'm sorry, Jeb. I shouldn't have said that word. Okay, I'm finished.
I believe that's it, everyone. If I can, if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to ask right now. Otherwise, I will close this webinar. We have Ricardo Gregorio Il Corpus. His webinar lecture is very good. It helped in my in-service exam and somewhat answer in my board. I have a question from Otabek, pardon me. Would it be possible to increase magnification for the histopathology slides to 60x? Currently, maximum magnification is 20x.
No.
No.
Not on the slides I have. The ones that I have, the FPX files, some of them go only to 40. Some of them go only to 20. The cytology stuff will go to 40, but not in my material.
So your answer is no.
Correct.
Okay. Well, Dr. Minarsik, I believe that's it. If there are no further questions, personally I'd like to say I don't think anyone could make pathology as entertaining as you do. And I know that everyone here will, but I hope all of the viewers on our website and on your website will take what you've done, implement their own spin, and share their knowledge to the world as you do. I think it's a great opportunity, and it will only expand from here. I'd also, for GoPath, like to emphasize to our viewers that, again, this is all very free. Our educational portal is 100% free, and that being said, help is always wanted to further education. Please remember, and lectures will, of course, appreciate donations, and they're accepted anyway and much appreciated. There's a donation box at the bottom of each lecture, and you can simply donate by clicking on that donate button and applying through paypal.com. Again, Dr. Minarsik, we thank you very much. I thank all the attendees for being here this morning. I believe this will be the conclusion of our webinar today, unless Dr. Liu, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. Dr. John Manasik, I will say thank you so much for sharing your great experience and your story with us. You know, we glad that GoPath is part of this, and internet changed everything, including pathology practice and pathology education. I think that what you have done and what actually GoPath has done and exert a significant impact in today's pathology education and the future, for that matter. So we should be all proud that we are part of this, trend. And if people look back in 10 years from now, they will see that what we are doing actually will significantly contribute to pathology education, and especially someone like John Manasik and Dr. Gurivia, is doing in the other place, and I think this is all exciting for us and for our mission to for doing the global free medical education. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jim. I'm very, very proud to be part of GoPath, and I know you don't like me to say this, but I'm very, very proud to have you as my boss, and I am very much